Okay, we're now ready to begin the most complicated part of creating our bridge, the assembly of the sides, including the roadbed and what I call the super duper structure. Not following the steps at this point will result in a bridge that can't be tested. The resources that you're going to need today are going to be the glue, your sides, foam board wrapped with wax paper, tape, timber cutter, and a marking utensil like a pencil or a pen. We're going to begin by saying that you need to understand how to measure 2.5 inches. The car is 2 inches wide, but you're going to need to make the bridge sides 2.5 inches from each other. And the best way to do this, following along, is you're going to take a couple of pieces of small tape. You're going to tape down the side to the wax paper. And that side is not necessarily going to stand up straight. It's okay if it starts to fall over or lean just a little bit. So we've taped one side. The next thing we need to do is we need to tape the second side 2.5 inches in parallel to the first side. I'm going to put the pieces of tape across from each other. So the piece of tape will be right here and another piece right there. It's important to know that you don't tape it down a whole bunch of spots. If you put every place where you put a piece of tape, you cannot put a roadbed member. So if you put a piece of tape someplace, you won't be able to put the roadbed. I'm going to make sure that I made this parallel. It looks parallel. That's 2.5 inches wide there. And a little bit longer, a little bit wider than 2.5 inches there. It's better to be too wide than too narrow, but I've got that set. So I've got those sides. They're not staying. The next step is going to be where you need several people to do this, or at least 2 people. You're going to be holding the foam board upside down and wrapping tape around it. Start it on the back of the foam board and wrap it all the way around and connect it to the other side. Next, make sure that your sides are standing up straight and the tape is taut. That means it's tight. This bridge is ready to go. Our next step is making the roadbed. I'll show an example of a roadbed, and this is where some students mess up. The roadbed is going to extend past the sides. You actually make them too long. If we make them too long like we've got here, those roadbed pieces will have to break. If you make them on the inside, oftentimes those roadbed pieces just fall off. I'll leave this example so that you can see I've done the roadbed in yellow. What I mentioned earlier, the super duper structure, is going to be 2 to 3 pieces on top, and they're going to go on the inside. So look at this model if you want to see an example. The roadbed needs to have between 6 and 10 sticks. Obviously, the more sticks you have, the heavier it becomes, but also the more sticks you have, the better chance you have of the sides breaking instead of the roadbed breaking. I'll go ahead and show you how to quickly just cut a couple sticks and how to glue them. So I've got an extra stick that was left over from my design earlier. That looks like it's the perfect distance. So if it's a perfect length already, you can say, well, I'm going to go ahead and cut 6 to 8 exactly the same length. So I'm going to measure and mark, put it in my timber cutter, and one person can start cutting the roadbed. That's all going to be the same length. I'm not going to do the entire one for this bridge, but I'll show you how you can glue now. In gluing, you're simply going to take some glue, place a drop of glue onto the roadbed itself, and across from that, and just simply drop your stick onto those drops of glue. To do the connector pieces, that would be the very last thing that you do at the end. The connector pieces are going to have to go inside. So I'll take an example of how I would measure this on the inside. I would put it on the inside and measure the distance to make sure that it goes on the inside of the bridge. I'll go ahead and measure that. Again, the last part of the bridge, we would be doing this after the roadbed was all done. Instead of just kind of sticking it in there, we would take a little bit of glue, just like we did before, put a drop of glue on to the wax paper, dip the ends of the bridge into each side, and place it inside the bridge. Now, I made this one a little bit too short, and that can be fixed. And the way to fix that would be to take your tape, lift up on the tape, and make the sides a little bit more narrow at the top. so that there's some pressure. You notice that side, or that bridge member, is on the inside. When you're all done, place your name on top of the bridge on the piece of tape. You can label it on the side, but we want to make sure that you test your own bridge, because oftentimes you're going to not see your names anymore. We want to test your bridge. Take your extra sticks, tape them onto your wax paper, and this goes back on the racetrack. And as always, you'll be expected to put all the resources back in their respected areas.